Welcome back to the Authentic Human Podcast. Today, we're talking about 2025, what you can expect, and how you can stay ahead of what's happening on a universal level. So, this we're not going to do typical, predictions for the year. These are It's about understanding really what's happening from a universal perspective, and you know that's at the heart of it, the essence of what's being restored right now, right? Because as humans, we're souls first, right? We're energy first that choose to come in and have this human experience. I know that concept, it's great to say it and to understand from a human perspective. But what's really going to be happening in 2025 is you're going to begin to understand that concept from your soul perspective, but as well from the universal perspective. And this is really, what is going to be unfolding throughout the year. I'm going to get into more specific details in a minute, but ultimately, the founding energy for 2025 is the energy of respect. Okay, so 2025 is the year of respect. What is respect? Respect is self-recognition. And, it's a universal energy. I've written about it at length in my book, Believe. It's ultimately, I wrote it from energy and awarenesses that were shared with me from the universal being. So it was great because I got to learn about it, and I've been studying it for the last 12, 15 years. That and the other 8 of the 9 fundamentals. But that's great. Those are concepts and it's really important to understand, right? That respect is one of the 9 fundamental universal energies. But the reason it's being layered into 2025 is that the energy is coming in on a more physical perspective and plane. Why? Because humanity has been asking for help. Okay. So this process actually started back in December of 2021 when the universal beings and the souls really started to understand that humanity needed more help in resurrecting and restoring our power. Okay. And because ultimately, as much as there were those of us who, we were willing to see the truth, we're willing to participate in the truth, we needed more help to help restore our natural gifts, our natural abilities. Because, it's no secret, right? Ancient humans were not, we were not cavemen, all of these illusions that we've been taught. We were a race of highly developed conscious beings. And we lost all of that awareness. We've lost all of our abilities. And, just looking back at, pyramids and all of these things where, it's still a mystery to how they were built. Well, that is intrinsic in our natural state of being. Those are all the abilities that we've had for centuries, right? I mean, humans are designed to be self-healing. We're designed to be self-fulfilling. And ultimately, those are the things we've lost. But we haven't lost them because we just decided to give up on them. They were lost because they were strategically hidden from us. Okay. And so starting in 2021, this entire universe, since the inception of it, for billions of years, trillions of years, was founded and based in, and why I say that both those ways is because time and space doesn't really matter from a universal perspective. It only matters from a human perspective, where we use time and space, like dates, and to record, because we're taught again that everything is linear. Anyways, so ultimately in December of 2021, so the solstice is when energy shift because energetically that is the new year. That's the new beginning. So it's the ceasing of one and the beginning of a new. And so it was the first year that the universal beings really understood that humanity needed aid on a physical level that they hadn't really understood before because we were getting better at communicating what we need. Because again, universal beings have not been human. They have full perspective in the sense that they haven't lost any single bit of awareness of the history of existence itself and everything that's ever occurred. But they've never been human. So they don't really understand. There's one or two that have been human, but it's very rare. And even still, they haven't been human in this level of manipulation. We'll just leave it at that. And so ultimately, what occurred in 2021 is that this entire universe went from a foundation of love, which it had been from its inception, to a foundation of truth. Now, the reason this had to happen is because love is the universal energy of connection. Okay, so this is really important. This is our connection to ourselves, to the universe, our ability to receive information and always know so that we're never mistreated. Well, that awareness and our ability to connect with that energy was broken. And so, what the creator and a number of beings understood was that the foundation needed to be changed to truth. Because truth is ultimately the energy of freedom. It gives you the opportunity to understand every single thing in existence, okay? Because there's only one truth, and either you're aware of it or you're not, right? And even if you're not aware of it, either you're working towards seeing it or you're working towards fighting against seeing it. So what they did in 2021 December, so for the year 2022, okay, if you look back on all your experiences, it was about exposing truth. And, you know, so much of this world changed, and so many more people started to see truths in relationships, in, in everything, right? Every aspect of human existence. We really started to see truth. I'm not going to go into the details. I'm sure you already know. You can go back. You can see it if you look at even headlines, right? What was national news, international news, all of these things. So then in December of 2022, so for the year 2023, they infused and added to truth, okay? Because again, these haven't been done before, not in this way. So basically, what I mean by this way is bringing them in to create a new foundation for humanity, okay? And so they needed to start with these fundamental energies. And so they brought in the energy of transparency. Now, if you go back and you look at 2023, and it's really funny because, I mean, we study these in our private community. We talk about everything and we learn all the things we need to learn throughout the year. So it was really fascinating. We got to see, how businesses started using the word transparency, full transparency, full transparency. But of course, they're using their idea of transparency, right? The truth about transparency was that you were no longer able to hide from yourself. So we had truth, okay? Because the first year of truth, they wanted you to start to see what's really going on in the bigger picture so that you can remember more of who you are. And then they had to add in transparency so you would ultimately not have the ability to hide from yourself, right? So you could see more truths about yourself, even the ones you're hiding from yourself, because ultimately at the end of the day, we're our greatest challenge because it's our beliefs, right? So all of those rules that you have lined up in your head, I kind of think of them like a filing cabinet, and I have, every thought that comes in goes into a file in my cabinet based on the beliefs that I have. And so that tells me, how to act and react. So my goal ultimately has been to get rid of all of the beliefs and allow myself to have the experience of each individual moment in time. But again, it's a journey, and it takes time, right? It takes a lot of experience to go through those things. So, anyways, so transparency came in, and then you go down to December 2023. So for the year 2024, they brought in the energy of purity. Okay. And purity is all about communication. So if you look back at this last year, how many aspects of communication on global levels were challenged? And when I say this, if you look right now, I don't even think that news channels are allowed to broadcast on social media. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but I don't pay that much attention. But these are like, these are fundamental things that happen as a result. Okay. So communication this year has really been about you learning how to communicate who you are, how you feel, and what you want to experience better. Okay. And if you're not doing it well, you're going to find that you're coming up against challenges that make you really uncomfortable. And ultimately, whomever is going through that, right? There's a lot of that right now. And so right, like in this moment, what we're transitioning, right? So today is December 13th that I'm recording this. So we are currently in the transition between closing out the energy of 2024 and opening to the energy of 2025, which will begin in 8 days on the 21st. So we're closing out purity, and we're laying the foundation for respect. Now, it's important to understand that because there's truth, because there was transparency, and because there's purity, we're ready for respect. We wouldn't have been able to understand this level of respect if we didn't go through the last 3 years, right? Respect is about self-recognition. It's about you learning about not only who you are, but it's restoring your natural instincts and abilities in a way that you probably haven't allowed yourself to, maybe if ever. Okay. And so, how they want to explain it today is, first and foremost, look back at every one of your greatest challenges throughout your life. Okay. And start to pay attention to not the challenge, but what you learned about yourself as a result of going through that challenge. Okay. This is the important part, because this year is the year you're going to learn how to use what gift you got from your challenges. Okay. Self-recognition is understanding that you have gifts, awarenesses, abilities, and secret missions, ultimately, if they're secret only because you're not fully aware of what your soul wants you to do or what you're meant to be doing in this life. It's not really a want. And that's really what you're working on right now, right? You're participating in. That is what the year of respect is all about. We as a society are not taught to look at our natural beauty, our natural respect, our natural ability to participate in the evolution of human existence, right? We're taught to participate in structures that damage our self-confidence, our ability to follow our instincts, our ability to feel, all of the things that we're meant to do that are an intrinsic part of the universal experience. We've strategically been taught to remove them over and over and over again. Oh, don't pay attention to that. Stay here, stay with the strategy, stay with this line of thinking. Don't feel, okay? And ultimately, what 2025 is all about is restoring all of those abilities. And it means that you're going to have to challenge yourself to use those gifts that you earned by going through the greatest challenges you've ever gone through. And some of them aren't even going to look like greatest challenges to other people. It doesn't matter. It's about you understanding why you're here, why you went through the things you went through, because you needed to learn in order to fulfill your reason for being. Okay, I'm going to give you an example so you can start to, like they're asking me, giving you an example so you can start to see how these things layer in and how you can ultimately start to find that confidence, right? So, this coming year, I have a project that I've been asked and offered from the universal beings. And so, in order to do it, I have to use my ability to extract universal awareness in ways that I've done before, but I haven't had the full courage to go all in. And what I mean by that is, I've been doing this for 20 years. When I first started doing this, one of the big things I had to do was overcome my emotions of worrying how other people were going to take the information. So because I wanted them to feel good, I wanted them to feel happy when I shared information. But I learned by doing that these people were not experiencing transformations. They were staying the same because they were just happy. So what I learned is how to have the courage to share even the uncomfortable things so that people could get the information they needed to make their life better. And being happy doesn't make your life better. Allowing yourself to see the things that make you uncomfortable, that make you challenged so that you can overcome them. Those are the things that transform people's lives. So I had to get really comfortable with people's discomfort. Another thing that I had to learn, and this really became apparent when I was about 8 to 10 years in. It was really funny because it was funny, but not so funny, one of those. I was sharing messages, and what I was seeing is there was a disconnect. And then this is before, like I never recorded sessions before. I never did any of that. This is really, I'm not a tech person. It was like, anyways, tech is a bit easier now. But that being said, what I really understood is I would see energy, I would feel the energy, and I would receive the messages, but I was really not that great at expressing it to the fullest potential that I could. I wouldn't describe it. I would just sort of say, it's like this. It's like a window, and expect the other person to get it. But now I understand if I'm saying there's a window, I need to also explain that there's sunshine on the other side and you can feel the sunshine coming in. It's so bright that the glass sparkles and it's almost blinding, but it's also really warm as a result. Like, so it went from just a window to a feeling, and so that's what I had to learn, because the moment I went, oh, I'm not doing this well enough, is the moment I went, I can do better. So then it's funny because the way that the universe shows up is all of a sudden, I'm one of the authors that I follow because I love her books. She started talking about how she writes a scene. And she said, one of the best ways, and she's a very good author. And she said, one of the most important things about any scene is to give three senses, right? If you can pique three senses, then the person will understand better. And I went, okay, that helps me translate energetically what I'm feeling and seeing and hearing and all of that. So I went, so that's how the universe works, right? It gives us what we need in ways that, a lot of people will say to me, oh, I want it to be spiritual based. But they would miss that it came from, an author writing about books that have nothing to do with spirituality. It's understanding and recognizing that the information we need is always there. Okay, so those might not seem like great challenges to you, but for me, they were. I wanted to understand them from a level of being able to serve, and I use that term loosely, to be able to offer the gifts that I do for those who are ready to receive it, right? That's those who are ready and willing. And that's really what it comes down to. And it's beautiful, right? When you find the right people. And so there's lots of other experiences and challenges, but at the end of the day, okay, 2025 is about you needing to use all of those gifts you've learned in the highest integrity possible. Okay. And this is where we're going to see a lot of discomfort this year, where we try things and we think, okay, I'm just going to put my toe in. It's right. It's like testing the waters of the swimming pool. This isn't that anymore. We're done with that. You're either jumping in the pool or you're going to walk right past the pool, right? If you think you're going to try and just test the waters, you're going to be exhausted. Because you're going to find that you're wasting so much time on trial and error. And we don't have time for that anymore because as souls, we don't do that. We're all in. When you see an awareness and you have that recognition of who you are and what you're meant to do, you follow it with a full heart. Okay. One day I can share stories about, how that works. And actually, I feel like that's probably what I will be doing over 2025 in different ways. But it's really and truly understanding that for you this year, the one thing you want to follow is your instinct for feeling who you are and for allowing yourself to participate in ways you haven't yet. And it's all by seeing the challenges you've already been through. Okay. Now, I know that there's a lot of people, because I asked in my community and I said, okay, guys, tell me what you want to know about 2025. And the questions you guys have, it was unbelievable, the response. I've got literally hundreds of them. So I will do a few more episodes and I'm going to answer those questions. But right now, the most important goal is that it's just, this is going to be released in just a couple days on the 15th, and December 21st is coming. Respect is coming. And if you want to learn more about it, I highly suggest getting yourself a copy of Believe. It will help you read it as many times as you need to, the chapter on respect as you go through the year. But more importantly, it's about you're feeding your soul this year. And how do you feed your soul? By learning to love yourself, by recognizing your gifts and your awesomeness, instead of going to that place where your default is judgment in any way. Okay, that's what we're going to get rid of, right? Purity. This past year has been about communication. It's about, understanding that you want to communicate who you are better. This year is really and truly about self-recognition. So it's noticing when you say something not great about yourself or someone else or an experience, and it is choosing to be a better person. And why do I say it in that way of a better person? Better in the sense that you're a pure, higher reflection of who you have the potential to be, right? Judgment is part of this manipulation world. It is not a part of universal existence, right? That whole concept of judgment, right? It was introduced through one of the foundations from the physical world of religion. There's no such thing as judgment. And they used the concept of higher beliefs, okay, to instill the power of judgment. We're going to get into that as we go through 2025. We're going to talk about that a lot more. But ultimately, it's your right and it's your power, and you have the potential to choose to not judge yourself and others. All you have to do is want to see the truth and the power and participate in a way that lifts you up and lifts other humans up. And that's respect, because it's self-recognition first. And when you hold it for yourself, you can then offer it to others. So if you think that you see other people so much better than you see yourself, it's actually impossible, because until you embody respect for yourself, you cannot hold it for someone else. It's just another one of those grand illusions that we're carrying around. So if you have any questions about respect, ask them below. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear about your stories about respect. I'd love to hear about, what challenges you've lived through that you can now see were gifts to help you recognize your strength and the wisdom that you carry, because we're all wisdom keepers if we allow ourselves to be. Okay. So I'm wishing you an excellent 2025. And as you restore more of your authentic humanness, which ultimately is about restoring your awareness of your true origins, right? Because that's the number one piece that's missing, right? You cannot fully become who you're meant to be if you don't know who you are. So that's what we're working on. And a lot of that is going to be revealed over 2025 as well. And I'm really, really excited. So thank you for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to learn more, head on over to michellevickers.com. Join our mailing list to receive new episodes right to your inbox, or apply to be a guest on the show. If this episode made you think of someone while you were listening, forward the link onto that person with a little note about why it made you think of them, because the greatest gift you can give another human is to see the beauty and purity of who they truly are. Until next time, stay curious.